Joining us now from Martha's Vineyard is Vermont Senator and 2016 Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders. Senator Sanders, you and Donald Trump are the two hottest things in politics right now. Why is that?
Well, I don't know about Donald Trump, but I think we are doing well. Hundreds of thousands of people are joining up on our campaign. We have 250,000 individual contributors averaging $35 apiece. We are drawing large crowds. And I'll tell you what, John, I think the American people understand that establishment politics and establishment economics are not working for the middle class and working families of this country, and they want real change. They want to end the absurdity of seeing the middle class of this country continue its 40-year decline, people working longer hours for lower wages, having the highest rate of childhood poverty of any major country on earth. All the while, there has been a massive transfer of wealth from the middle class to the top 0.1%, so that today almost all of the new wealth and income being created is going to the top 1%. People are saying enough is enough. That is not what this country is supposed to be about. We want to be able to send our kids to college. We want to be able to have decent child care. We don't want to be the only major nation on earth that doesn't guarantee family and medical leave, paid sick time, paid vacation time. We want a government that starts representing working families and not just wealthy campaign donors, which is what we have right now. And I think that's a message that is resonating all across the country.
Senator, we had Speaker John Boehner on. He said he came to Congress with you, and that he characterized you by saying that there's not a tax increase that you haven't liked. What's your response to that? He says you're out of the mainstream of America.
All right. Well, let me respond to that issue by issue, and you determine who's out of the mainstream. I want to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Recent Wall Street Journal poll said a majority of the American people want to do that. John Boehner is not going to even bring up any legislation in the House to raise the minimum wage at all, and many of his members want to do away with the concept of the minimum wage. I want to see this country expand Social Security benefits, not cut them. John Boehner and his party want to either privatize Social Security or cut Social Security benefits for the elderly and disabled vets. The American people say overwhelmingly, we have got to expand Social Security benefits by lifting the cap on taxable incomes. I want to create millions of jobs by rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure, and have introduced legislation to do that. Republican Party is very reluctant to spend a nickel to rebuild our infrastructure.
Senator, you...
So I think in terms, John, of who's out of touch with the American people, I would say the Republican Party is. They want to give tax breaks to billionaires, not help the middle class.
You've distinguished yourself now from the Republican Party. A lot of the issues you've mentioned, both on wages and income inequality, are going to be the topic of a speech by Hillary Clinton, your opponent in the Democratic fight, on Monday. How do you distinguish yourself from her for Democratic voters out there?
Okay, first of all, let me say this, John. I have known Hillary Clinton since she was First Lady. I've known her for 25 years. I like Hillary Clinton and I respect Hillary Clinton. And I'm not going to engage in personal attacks against Hillary Clinton. But there are differences of opinion that we have, which should be the basis for a serious discussion. Number one, I have spent my political life taking on the big money interests. I have introduced legislation that would break up the large financial institutions on Wall Street. I think if a bank is too big to fail, it is too big to exist. I voted against the war in Iraq. And if you go to YouTube and you look at what I said way back when, sadly enough, much of what I predicted actually happened. Hillary Clinton voted for the war. I believe, along with Pope Francis, that climate change is one of the great international crises that we face. I have worked as hard as I can to kill the Keystone Pipeline program. You'll have to ask Hillary Clinton what her view is on that. She has not been very clear. So I think on issue after issue, whether it's raising the minimum wage, to $15 an hour. Whether it is the trade agreement, I oppose TPP. She has not been clear on it. There are very significant differences of opinion that we have.
Senator Sanders, we'll hold it right there. We'll be back in a moment with Senator Sanders. Stay with us. Welcome back to Face the Nation. I'm John Dickerson, and we continue our conversation with Vermont Independent Senator Bernie Sanders. Senator, you mentioned that you agree with the Pope on the climate change question. I was wondering, do you agree with him on his harsh condemnation of capitalism?
I think what the Pope has been saying in a very profound and deep way is that casino-type capitalism is causing devastating problems, not only in terms of our climate, but in terms of income and wealth inequality. He talks about the fact that all over the world, for example, we are ignoring the needs of senior citizens who often in our country and around the world are lonely, don't have the money they need for medicine or to heat their homes or to eat the food, buy the food that they need to survive. He has talked about an issue, John, that I am talking about a lot, and that is young people throughout the world. In our country today, we have youth unemployment for white kids who graduate high school of 33%, Hispanic kids 36%, African American kids 51%. And what the Pope is saying, there's something wrong internationally, where almost all of the new wealth in this world is going to people on the top, and so many other people are falling by the wayside. So yes, I think that Pope Francis has played an extraordinary role. He has been a voice of conscience all over the world, speaking out for those people who don't have a voice, those people who are suffering. And what he is saying is enough is enough. Money cannot be the God of life. We have got to look at our kids, look at those people who are hurting. We've got to come together to create a new world, and not a world in which a handful of people have so much wealth and so many other people are suffering. I am a great fan of Pope Francis.
Let me switch now to how you take your ideas and make them a reality in a political system. Let me read you something that Bill Shaheen, who's the husband of one of your colleagues, said about Hillary Clinton and why he supports Hillary Clinton. He said, speaking of you and Hillary Clinton, we all want the same things, but the question in the final analysis is who's going to be the person who is going to deliver it for you? In other words, like what you're saying, but you're just not going to be able to deliver in Washington. What's the answer?
Well, the answer is I will be able to deliver in Washington. I will be able to win the election, and I'll tell you why. Because we are going to bring more people into the process. I'm going to be going around the country, not only to blue states, John, but to red states, conservative states. We're going to go to Alabama. We're going to go to Mississippi. We're going to go to conservative states. We're going to talk about poverty in this country. The fact that we have 45 million people living in poverty and the highest rate of childhood poverty of any major country. And we're going to get young people and we're going to get working people excited and involved in the political process. We're going to grow voter turnout. The reason the Republicans did so well last election, 63% of the American people didn't vote. I think the message that we have is resonating. People are going to get involved in the political process. We're going to drive turnout up. And when we do that, we win.
Senator, that sounds exactly like what we heard from Senator Barack Obama. Build a movement, change Washington. You don't think it worked in that case. Why is it going to work with you?
Here's what I said. John, here's what, well, it worked in getting Barack Obama getting elected. And let me be clear. I think that in 2008, Barack Obama ran one of the great campaigns in the history of the United States of America, an extraordinary grassroots campaign. Here is the mistake that Barack Obama made, and I am a friend of Barack Obama's, have a lot of respect for him, although we disagree on a number of issues. What he did after the election is what he said to the millions of people who were so excited about his campaign. He said, hey, thank you very much for electing me. I will take it from here. I'll sit down with John Boehner. I will sit down with Mitch McConnell. I'll sit down with the Republicans, and I'm going to negotiate some fair compromises. The truth is, the Republicans never wanted to negotiate. All they wanted to do was obstruct. What I have said throughout this campaign, electing Bernie Sanders as president is not enough. Not going to do it. We need a mass grassroots movement that looks the Republicans in the eye and says, if you don't vote to demand that your wealthy people start paying their fair share of taxes, if you don't vote for jobs and raising the minimum wage and expanding Social Security, we know what's going on. We're involved. We're organized. You are out of here if you don't do the right thing. That is the only way we can take on the billionaire class.
All right, Senator Bernie Sanders, thanks so much. We'll be right back with our panel.